Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Amanda Lamb. In today's deep dive conversation, we're talking with WRAL senior Durham reporter Sarah Krueger about how people living in our community are not only aging gracefully, but they are thriving. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So this is a topic that is particularly interesting to me as I round the top of the mountain after 50. And I know it was probably fun and interesting. I know you went to the Durham Center for Senior Life to learn more about how these seniors are kind of dipping into the fountain of youth, if you will. What are some of the common things that you heard from them about what's really important in terms of how you grow older?
Yeah, it was really fun to go there. You know, there are so many people there who are so vivacious and so active. And that was a great place to go to find some of these people who are aging so well, because one of the things that they really talked about and pointed to is staying busy and staying physically active, and how both of those things have really contributed to their aging success. And at the Durham Senior Center, you know, they have puzzles and they have bingo and they have card games, and they also have a lot of different physical things like dancing, and they have a gym on site. They even have classes for technology. So there were seniors who were so involved in so many things, and was really cool to talk with them. They were all so wonderful and so welcoming.
Yeah, I mean, this is so fascinating to me. There's this new term called Super-Agers that was coined at Northwestern University. And basically it means aging well, but not only that, it means having a memory of a much younger person if you are over 80. And these things all seem common sense, but this is very specific. Tell me about what Northwestern University learned about these Super-Agers.
Yeah, so they define super-agers as adults who are over 80 who have the memory at least at the level of people who are 20 to 30 years younger. And they found, they studied the brain and found that people with Alzheimer's disease, as they age, their brains tend to shrink. So super-agers, on the flip side of that, they hold on to more of their brain mass for longer. So there literally is, this physical difference between these people. And studies that they've done and others have done can help us understand some of the factors that help brains stay strong. So some of those things: advanced education and jobs that are mentally challenging. Those things were found to be good for our brain's longevity. And then beyond that, I think it's some of the more typical things that we might expect, like diet and exercise, and really having a focus on that, not just when you're older, but throughout your life. And then socializing. That was another big thing, that socializing really tends to keep brains stronger. And Northwestern researchers found that super-agers, they tend to have more friends and family who they are close with. So those are some of the things that we can all be thinking about as we are aging. And the doctor that I spoke with for this story was saying, you should be thinking about these things before you get to that number, before you get to 70 or 80. No matter what your age is now, what you are doing will impact you down the line.
Yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the University Center for Cognitive Neurology and Alzheimer's disease have been studying brain function, and also the National Institute on Aging. It almost seems like we're talking about exercising our brain just like we would exercise our bodies. I know one of the things I've read is that word games are specifically something that's very good for your brain as you age. And so all of these things seem like common sense, but it's a matter of really, I guess, getting that information out there. I know you spoke with a doctor, a geriatric physician at UNC. What did he have to say?
Yeah, so I was asking him, his name's Dr. John Batsis, and I was asking him about his patients, what he's seen anecdotally. And he says definitely he has some super-ager patients, and that they've really maintained their healthy lifestyle throughout their years. And in talking with some of the seniors at the Durham Center for Senior Life, I definitely found some of that, but I think it's hard to generalize super broadly because some of the people I talked to had really differing perspectives of like, oh, well, I wasn't that healthy when I was younger, but now I've really turned it on and amped it up. So, I think as with everything, there's definitely genetics that are going to play a factor in this for sure. But beyond that, yeah, just the exercise, the diet, the socializing, staying busy, staying, mentally and physically engaged is so important.
Absolutely. Well, we will be right back after the break with more from Sarah Krueger on thriving later in life. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm talking with Sarah Krueger about aging gracefully. So, Sarah, these super-agers, I know, again, you talked to a bunch of seniors in Durham about staying young. One of them was cheerleading. Tell me about that.
Yes. So I went to the Durham Center for Senior Life, and I was looking for super-agers to interview for my story. And so my mind immediately went there and reached out to them and just asked the organizers over there, like, hey, can you all think of any super-agers that you can connect me with? And so they immediately thought of a few people, and I interviewed all of them. And one of them was telling me about how she stays physically fit and also socializes. And the way she does that is she started a cheerleading league for senior citizens in Durham. She said she had never been a cheerleader before, but it always looked fun. And, she wasn't sure what the interest would be like among other seniors in Durham, but she says it was great interest. And now her cheerleading league actually has traveled all over the country performing at different places. And she gave me a little sneak preview. She can still do the splits
Oh my gosh.
up in her years.
I could
And
never do the splits. So
I know
that's amazing.
I never even tried. I feel like I would injure myself. But yeah, she has a lot of fun with that. And so that is just one of the ways that she stays so vivacious. And she and actually another woman that I interviewed for this story who are super-agers are both cancer survivors, which was really interesting to me. And I think, they talked about how surviving cancer gave them a new lease on life and just encouraged them even more to just live life to the fullest in every way and soak it up.
Absolutely. And, when you think about senior centers, the one you went to, and then also senior living communities, there's always so many activities. If you go into an area like that, you'll see all these things, bingo or dance or, a social event. And there's really a method, if you will, to this figuring out how do we continue to thrive as we grow older. Now, only a very small portion of the community are considered super-agers right now, correct? I think I read in
Correct.
some of your reporting about 10%.
That's right, yes.
But do you think, are researchers thinking, hey, as the more we talk to people about this, the more that percentage will increase because people will say, wow, I could start now doing some of these things that will help me thrive.
Yeah, that's the reason that scientists are really studying super-agers is to see how more of us can be like them, really trying to increase that number because who doesn't want to be a super-ager? Gosh, when I, did this story, it definitely made me think about what can I do and how can I be building those healthy habits because, yeah, just memory is such a blessing. And to any extent that our life actions can impact that, it's so worthwhile.
Absolutely. How early did they say, or have the researchers said, we need to begin thinking about this?
I think, yeah, they didn't say when you're 5 or anything, you need to be thinking about this. But young adulthood, definitely. I can't remember if they gave an exact time, but I remember thinking as someone in my 30s while talking to them, like, okay, now's the time to really start this. And I think especially with like social habits, friendships that you build now can hopefully continue later on into life. So all of those things really could start now, start in your 30s.
It sounds like this really inspired you personally as you did this story. You don't get to do many stories like this that have such a kind of a silver lining to them. How did this inspire you?
Yeah, so I think, probably most people listening, definitely myself included, have had family members who, as they age, have lost some of their mental capacities and have lost their memory and to dementia or Alzheimer's. And it's such an emotional experience to go through that. And, definitely sometimes it's unavoidable. And like we talked about, there are those genetic factors. People are predisposed to things like that. But just hearing from these studies from this doctor that there are things we can do to really give ourselves the best chance of being a super-ager, I think that was definitely inspiring, and something that I will definitely strive toward. I want to live as long as possible, don't we all? As long as we're healthy and able to do so. So got some new goals from this story.
And, I realized after reading your reporting that I actually already do a lot of these things. I'm big on exercise. I'm big on engaging with friends. And the word games, got to do my Wordle and my crossword puzzle every morning. So hopefully those are good things. Yeah. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing this story. It was really, like I said, inspirational, but also fascinating. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download and making us part of your morning routine. If you like what you're hearing, please rate us on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcast app you use. Another great way to get WRAL news is the Morning Briefing newsletter. It's a daily email waiting in your inbox every morning with Triangle news events and headlines to get you ready for the day. Sign up at WRAL.com/newsletter.